humans, welcome back to the world's easiest Figma Buzz crash course. Figma Buzz is a new and interesting part of Figma that's recently been introduced, and it handles branding, social media posts, logo design, poster design, and all of that cool, fun, show-offy stuff. So I am so excited to be able to do all of that in Figma. Let's get started. To get started with Figma Buzz, you're going to go over to the top, click on plus, and over here you're going to select Figma Buzz. It's currently in beta, but it is insane even the way it is. Let's just get started. Now you can choose whether you're going to add a simple blank asset, which is going to be the actual size of the post. So for example, if you're making social media posts and you want an Instagram post or a Facebook post or an X post or a Google ad, all of these have very specific resolutions, width by height, and those numbers are over here automatically in these frames. So you can choose them automatically. If for example you're just designing this post for Instagram, you can just add it directly. Or you can go over here and search by categories. If you're going to share something on social media, these are the images that make a lot of sense. This is the kind of branding or graphic design that you might want to have over here. You can obviously have ads if you're running those. You can have print media based graphic design. For example, these are posters that can be printed out on a standard A4 sheet or any printable format. These next category is business, and so this has business cards, business templates, all sorts of business posters, things that you would want if you are in that category, if you are in business. Speaking of categories, if you're in sales and promotions, this next section is very helpful for you. Things like sales, things like limited time offers are really easy to put forward when you have templates that look like these. I love the fact that they've done the same exact template, even if you'd want to use this template in different sizes. So let me just clarify this. Google runs ads on different device sizes. Some devices allow for a medium sized rectangle to be available, some allow a large size rectangle to be available, and even though both of these look the same and they technically are the same thing, when you import both of these, you're actually going to find they are different in terms of sizes. This is on a medium rectangle size for Google Ads, and this is for a large rectangle size. In practicality, both of these are different, and scaling them used to be a struggle. So if you designed for a medium rectangle, scaling it above to fit the thresholds of a large rectangle would be a struggle before Figma Buzz introduced this clear system of templating. Alright, the next category I want to talk about is events, and I think this is really helpful even for personal events. For example, having an anniversary, having a party, having a birthday, or having a special event. All of these require us, even as normal people, to send out invites. And spending a lot of time on simple things like a travel invite is really a time suck up. So this is going to be really useful. In fact, I've already started using these. I've sent like 2 of these invites to people personally, and it works wonderfully. It does. It just does. This is my favorite birthday invite, even though it's really simple. The next category that I want to talk about is celebrations. I think this is the perfect blend as a category because sometimes you're just celebrating, and sometimes it's just one great thing that happens. This is for Father's Day, this is for Mother's Day, and you can see how everything just works over here. This is for a wedding, this is again for an anniversary or a wedding, and I feel all of these are just so good and so easy, even for normal people. Even if you're not a designer, this is making the whole process of sending cards of save the date, wedding invites, birthday invites so much easier. Alright, with that said, these are the templates. You can add any of them and start editing them. Start with that. In this video, we're first going to create a design from scratch, and then we're going to come back, get a template, and then look at how we can customize that as well. So to get started, I'm just going to close this off because I want total control over what I'm doing. Now there is 2 different views. Before we get started, I want to talk about the views in Figma Buzz. There are 2 different views. The first one is your general asset view, with which you can just see assets over here and you can see your design over here. The next view is the more interesting one. This is the grid view, and this makes your job super duper easy by letting everything be separated in its own section and giving you a lot of area to work with. The next section is obviously the templates, and this is exactly what we saw in the modal right here, and it's just shifted over here. The next element is the text element. So the first view that we're going to talk about is the asset view, and with this asset view I want to get started with our first image. This first image is an Instagram post square. You can also choose other posts if you would prefer it. I feel like I'm just going to do an Instagram post over here because why not? Alright, with that done, now let's go to the grid view. This is what your different posts look like in a grid view. Everything is separated into its own section. So for example, if I had more than one asset, let's just change over to grid view. Now you're able to see the both of them. You can switch around their positioning. So this will be easier to understand if we change one of the colors to black. If the first frame is black and the second frame is white, using grid view, you can change over the hierarchy in which they appear, change over the list within which they appear, and now the first asset is no longer black is the second asset, the first asset is white, because we switch their positioning around with grid view. Speaking of switching positions around, you can do that using asset view as well by shifting around these positions, and you can add a new frame from the top. Alright, with that done, let's go over and look at all of the different tools that are available over here. This is the templates feature, which we obviously saw using the modal that was in front of us when we got this file started. All of the things that were available before are available over here. You can also choose from your theme, but for now we're just going to keep things simple. Go over to the next feature, which is the text feature. Figma automatically has a bunch of super cool font combinations, which I must say was previously only available in Canva, and the way in which they've taken features of Canva and put them over here and made Figma the platform for design is definitely impeccable. Alright, let's go over and explore a couple of these font options. Now you could create these from scratch, but some of the font options are just incredible. You know what, I'm just going to put this over here. You can just click on something and it gives you a couple of these. So I clicked on it twice, which is why I have two different text boxes. I'm just going to get rid of this one. One thing really interesting with fonts in Figma Buzz, which is not a property of Figma design, is you don't have to change font sizes to make this text smaller. So for in Figma design, if you want to change the size of a font, you have to reduce the font size. In Figma Buzz, when you want to do that, you can just scale the container up and down, and the font size went from 128 to 289, and it's just that simple. So this is really easy, but because now you're making social media posts and you have to be less strict and stringent about the number of the font size or the exact number to make things responsive. This is a simple banner post, and for that you can just change font sizes using the side handlebars, and this is making our job so much easier. So I'm just going to bring this down here, increase the width, and of course you can move these things around, position them. I'm trying to create the best post I can just to show you what and how Figma Buzz works, which is going to go over here, select this text and make this thicker. You can do that from the top slider. There is a lot that you can do. Let's start with all of the different features that you can do from the top slider. You can change the color, and before we do anything else, can we just acknowledge Figma has implemented features that Canva previously had before in terms of auto colors as well. Figma only allowed custom color pickers in the early days, but now you have these color swatches, which are really nice, which is a feature that was in Canva before, and now it's over here in Figma, and you can just easily change things around, change colors around, have a look and feel and figure out what color works best with the background, with the foreground that we're working with. And speaking of changing colors, you can select the frame, and the one thing that you can consistently do is actually change colors. Let's change the color to light yellow. I know this is a little too light, but you can also change the lightness or darkness of the color from the custom color palette. Let's just go back to our text now and talk about the text properties. You can give this box, the box that is holding the text, a border, which can either be solid, and you can make this thicker, so all of the text that is inside of this box is going to have a border now. We can make this as dark as we want, as light as we want. So now that we've changed the color, the border is much more clearly visible. I don't intend on keeping it, but it's nice to have it. You can also make this a dashed border, which was never present in Figma before. So you could add a stroke or a border to text in Figma before, but you couldn't make it dashed. I don't believe you could, but now you can do that. And look, it's so pretty, it's so little and so cute, and it's so weird and it's pretty. It just is. All right, the other elements that I want to talk about is you can change the font that's present over here. I need to get rid of the dashes. It's making me creeped out and tripping over my trypanophobia. All right, we can change the color. I need to change the color because that was not good contrast. We're going to make this brown 580000 in hex code, and now we're going to change the font family. So the font family that I want to use, and you can obviously switch around, see what font works best. For this one is going to be Fira Sans. Is a good font. Fira Sans condensed would be even better. You can make them bolder or thinner if you need to. I feel like semi-bold would be a good place to stop. You can increase the font sizes using this bar as well, and it is important to notice here, these up and down arrows don't change your font size of 28 to 29, they go to the next increment by 4 pixels. And a similar phenomenon happens when you click on the down button. This goes down by 4 pixels. An interesting phenomenon happens when you click on these top and bottom buttons. Both of these go up and down in 4 pixel increments. So if you click on this font up button, the font size of 24 is going to go up to 28 and not 25. You can still manually change a 32 to 33, but even when you click on up now, it's going to go up in 4 pixel increments, and a similar pattern is followed with the downward arrow. I want to keep this at a 22, so I'm just going to manually enter that in. You can change these to be italicized if you want, or underlined if you want. I think I'm just going to get rid of the underline for now, and the alignment for the text can also be changed. I think something that's just lovely over here is you can not only change the vertical alignment, which is left, right and center, you can also change the vertical alignment, which is aligned to the top of the box, aligned to the center of the box, and aligned to the bottom of the box. And it's easier to understand what I'm talking about if the box is bigger. So let's just make this guy bigger, and now you'll see very, very subtle differences when you start aligning them. So when you align them to the center, it just shifts down slightly, and when you do that once again, it shifts down slightly once again. I know it's difficult to see with just plain eyes, but it does happen, and it's good for proficiency in design. Let's bring this down to a 22, align it towards the left and align it towards the center, and that's it. We're going to change effects if we want to. You can change the opacity, you can add a shadow if you want to, you can add a blur if you want to. This is so fun. I'm going to have a lot of fun with images with the new blurs that have just been put in. I think something wonderful that's available here is you don't have to worry about drop shadow in a shadow, this shadow, that shadow. Text shadow is just text shadow in Figma Buzz, and it just works really, really well. Like, I can't say this is a bad shadow. It takes so much work off of my hands, and it makes life so much easier. I am so switching from Canva to Figma Buzz now. Alright, let's talk about AI tools. AI tools are incredible inside of Figma, much more incredible than I ever would have imagined. You can shorten text. I do want to try what this changes to. So just to put this into perspective, previously we had sauna and cold plunge, and now when we shorten it once again, you're going to see sauna and plunge, which is definitely shorter in terms of font sizes. And this becomes much more relevant when there is a small amount of space and you have a lot of text to fit into. This does become very useful then, but knowing that this tool is available and it works really well over here as well is really, really useful for you as a designer. You can rewrite this into making the tone more casual, or you can just do any of the text editing things that you would talk about with ChatGPT, for example, or Grok, in terms of craft me a description, more casual of a description, or give me a title, or give me a headline, or any of those prompts. But for now, I'm just going to give it a more casual description prompt and ask it to rewrite this stuff for me. And this is now giving us a really, really casual, nice vibe, saying chill out in a sauna and take a refreshing dip afterwards. I think this is quite good even for AI. This is genuinely nice, and I think this is so much more helpful to a lot of designers for whom English isn't the first language, and it does take a lot of headache off of your head in terms of getting the English grammar right and getting the spellings right, because I've seen people struggle with this. I'm just going to be honest. I don't struggle with it as much as I've seen some people struggle with it, and Figma AI is essentially giving us a break from the whole get your English right phenomenon. With that said, we can also translate this to another language. You can choose any language you want. I'm just going to choose Hindi because that's a language I speak, and if it does something wrong, I'll be able to point it out. But you can actually try all of these different features, and I absolutely love the way it has integrated translations out of nowhere. No one saw it coming, but Figma Buzz has had translations, which is actually quite useful for social media posts, because sometimes you have these brands that are only available to a certain market, or you want to have more localized advertisements, and this makes that job so much easier. You only have to proofread the translation, and even with time, translations keep on getting better. The whole job of typing in a language that is not English, which is actually quite difficult, is taken off our hands, which is incredible. So this is a pretty nice translation. if AI is the one generating it, and I honestly like it. All right, you can also undo it, by the way. If you're not happy with the way things are, you can always undo it. You can rewrite this and shorten it using the rewrite feature, but I'm just going to click on the shorten feature just to make things smaller, just to take things off of my head. And you can keep on shortening it, by the way. You can make this longer using the rewrite feature, but you can keep on shortening it to the point where it fits within your word limit. You can also have bulleted lists, numbered lists, and this is just preview of what that's going to look like. Letter and line spacing can be adjusted. This is the line height, and this makes your line taller, and this is actually quite useful when you have two different lines. So now that I have line 2, I'm going to show you what line height does, the magic of it all. So when you change the line height now, this gives a lot more space to the bullet points, and it makes your life much easier. This is also applicable with paragraphs. You can also change the letter height, and this makes things more relaxed just to fit into the space, or more tighter if that's the vibe you want, which is a general requirement for many use cases. Another element where things are required is positioning an asset, so you can align these elements. All right, another interesting element, I'm just going to get rid of the numbers list because we don't need it. Another interesting element that I want to talk about is aligning within assets. So these are currently grouped. If it looks kind of weird to you, you can use Ctrl+Shift+G to get rid of the block that was available, and Ctrl+G to create the block again. I'm just going to do a Ctrl+Shift+G because I don't want the block right now, and then I'm going to show you a really cool feature. So let's just align this text for the time being to the center of our screen both ways, and now I'm going to show you position in asset feature. Let's place this right here and say I want it to be in the center of the screen. There's a very simple way to be able to do that. You can just go over to the position in asset feature and align it vertically in the center and horizontally in the center, and using those two simple buttons, your asset, your random element that was floating somewhere, which was intended to be in the center, can now just quickly go over here and align perfectly using vertical and horizontal spacings. You can also align this towards the left, towards the top, or any of these columns, any of these specific sides. So I think this is also really a great feature to add inside of Figma Buzz. I'm just going to change it back to the way we were because I kind of preferred that, honestly. Alright, the last thing that I want to talk about is, for example, I am really happy with the positioning of this element, but every single time I go to style it, I go to change the text, it just changes positions. Sometimes when you're moving a lot of things around, working with more than one element, and you're trying to change the stuff and it just changes back and it just gets shifted and all of this chaos and mess starts happening. A really simple fix for that is to be able to get this text box exactly where you want it to be and then go over to the top and lock its position. What this does is it lets you lock in the position that you chose, and now you can change the text. You can change the text back to whatever you want to change it to, but no matter what you do, no matter how many colors and styles and things you bring in, you will never lose the positioning. And you can undo this as well. Go over to the top, click on unlock position, and now I can move this box around. So I'm just going to select this and I'm going to unlock the position, and now I can move this around wherever I want to. Before we do anything else, I just am bothered by the font. I'm going to change this to Montserrat because I feel like that'll work much better with this font that we've chosen. I think the color that's over here is actually much better than what this is. So I'm just going to change this back to the exact dark shade that was at the top. It is worth noting here that the color that you used previously, so for example, if I had used the color red previously, this red would now be a part of our UI and it would be available for this font to use in our most used colors palette. One last element that I do want to talk about is the gradients palette. So you can change the color theme and the way these colors are. You can have them be in a gradient, which is a smooth transition from one color to the next, with the top color being say red and the bottom color being orange. So I'm just going to get a shade of orange that I like. I'm going to flip the gradient if I want to, but this looks fine. You can rotate the gradient if you want to as well, but I feel like I'm pretty happy with the way this is, honestly. You can also use an image to be in the background of one of these fonts. So you can just add the image. Figma gives you a custom grid of whites and grays. You can change the exposure, the contrast, the saturation of these, but you can also upload your own image. I'm just going to get a simple image from somewhere that I have saved. This image that I've placed right here is a black and white grid. It is a repeating pattern and it just looks really good with this text. So I'm just going to change over the properties like exposure, contrast, and this gives it a really special 3D sort of effect. You can try it if you want to, but even if you don't, this is just a really cool feature to have in the back of your head, and you can change the colors and the tints as well. It is worth noting here, you can take an image that is black or white and change the coloring of it in itself by changing the saturation, temperature, and tint. So these are the 3 features that are going to help you change a color of something that's white to something that's orange and something that looks really good with our theme. With that said, I like the way this looks. I'm just going to change this back to a plain black because honestly no one needs the image right now. We're going to change this to a dark shade of gray, and that is it. I feel like this is really good. I feel like this looks really good. I'm going to select the both of these, Control G to group them, and bring them down over here. Again, I'm going to shift this a little bit to the bottom using arrow keys, which you can do. And now I'm going to lock their position because I don't want to change it at any cost. Now we're going to talk about importing images. You can upload your own image, which is something that I'm going to do from my downloads right now. This is a simple flower that I've just imported, and you can put this in anywhere. I feel like you could just rotate this and give the right colors where we need them as well. I feel like this looks good. And now another point worth mentioning is Figma Buzz actually shows you what part of the image will be left out when you download this image, when you preview this image as a post. So this part of the flower itself is just going to get cut off because we've positioned it in such a way. Alright, another interesting feature with images is you can make your own image using OpenAI's GPT Image 1 or any other AI model. So you can choose the AI model that you're using. You can choose from GPT Image 1, Google Imagen 3 or Titan V2 on 11th May, which is when this video is being recorded. I'm pretty sure more models are going to be added in the future. This is 11 May 2025, and these are the 3 models that are available right now. Let's get a simple image of Spa and Springs Center. I'm just getting a random image that would work well right here, and then we're going to try out a bunch of things with it. This is our complete image. It is worth noting here, I am not happy with the way it looks, and when that happens you can go back and make changes. So I'm just going to say someone in a spa. Let's see if that is a little bit more visual, if that gives us a better closer view of the image itself. Now that I am happy with kind of the way it looks, I can still make changes if I want to. A change that I want to make is make the area of the visible image broader, because this seems like a simple modeling sort of gig and not a whole entire spa inside of one single image. While that's happening, let's look at the tools available at the top. Most of these are similar to the text tools. You can change the fill to a no fill, a color, gradient, or an image. Change the coloring, exposure, contrast and stuff of the image. You can give it this a border, round this image off using the corners. You can add a couple of effects including opacity, shadows of the image itself. You can blur this image out or add an overlay of a specific color. We don't need any of those. You can also have a different image using the AI tools option available at the top. This is so much better. You can also use the positioning and asset and lock position features that we looked at previously. Alright, this actually looks quite good, fitting with the theme of what we're actually doing over here. Let's go over to the next feature, which is the shapes feature, and it is worth mentioning over here. The shapes that are available are a bunch. You can basically create any and every shape you'd want to. Let's go ahead, instead of creating a simple circle, square, triangle, let's get one of these complicated cloudy shapes and just make it bigger. You can always scale these shapes up and down. I'm going to get rid of the border, so you can just get rid of the border for all of these on their own. So I've gotten rid of the border finally. Let's make this bigger, and you can change the colors of the shapes that went into these by yourself as well. And you can obviously make this thinner in opacity, add a shadow, make it blurrier if you want to, but again, these are secondary features which you can work with in case you need to. The last feature that I want to talk about before we finally take care of the way this design looks is the inserts feature. This is my favorite feature in Figma Buzz so far, because you can basically insert any and every sticker that you would want to. Let's say I want to have a vacation theme attached to this banner of a Springs and Spa. We can obviously search for that and add it over here automatically. And the reason this works so well is because you're trying to make things fit into a vibe, and these stickers make your job so much easier by not having you go through hordes of different illustrations and just whack your brain searching for the right one. This looks really, really good. Let's also add this little image of a green leaf. It is worth noting here, if you squish images using these up and down containers, the aspect ratio is going to get messed up. A better way of doing things is to press shift when you're scaling these images up and down, and the aspect ratio is always maintained. You can right click and bring an image to the front if you want to. You can obviously copy and paste it using these options, change its positioning, group it, frame it, flatten it, and show or hide it, or flip it horizontally or vertically. And these are just some of the simple tools that are really easily available inside of Figma Buzz, which you've seen before in Figma automatically. Figuring out a way to position the both of these so they actually look good. Let's bring this in here. Check it out, it actually looks quite nice. I do wonder what would happen if we let these images stay out of our frame. I am hoping for better results. And you can obviously have as many elements as you want to be present here. You can change the colors of these elements as well. This is also quite a fun property worth noticing. And you can get the elements that you've been using from inside of your design. So if you were using these colors are also available, and you can switch them around inside of your design. So let's just change this back, customize this illustration to match the gradient that we've done and to match our theme. It's going to make our job so much easier. I want the both of these to be orange, honestly. Let's let this be orange as well. And finally, we need to change the shape, the color that is green in the background. So I selected the actual vector that was going inside of making this entire UI, and I'm getting rid of this green weird vector because I just don't like it. Let's just delete it, and this looks much better with the new shadow and everything. And you can just move this around, rotate it, adjust it, position it at a place where it actually looks quite nice. I'm just going to get rid of this flower because it's just not fitting the vibe anymore. You can, using the edit content section, see the images that are inside of your design. You can also upload a spreadsheet to create a lot of assets at once for bulk creations. We'll cover this in another video because this is a whole other deep topic to dive into. Finally, let's talk about the three elements at the bottom, which are the cursor tool, which is what we've been using all along, the move tool. The next tool that I want to talk about is the hand tool, which makes moving around screens so much easier. The third tool is the comments tool, which is quite nice when you have a bunch of people on the team and you want to basically leave feedback. You can also leave emojis along with text. You can also leave mentions for different people, so you can use them for different team members. And you can also upload images and GIFs if it gives the right feedback. So I feel like this is the simplest way to have a feedback work over here, and you can very clearly let this image load. You can very clearly see the feedback of the different people involved. And you can obviously mark this as resolved, and that will be it for the comments. The last feature that is very interesting that all of us designers have been waiting for, and it's also the reason I've sort of been staggering this design and the way it'll end up, is the switch to design mode feature. Are you ready for this? You can take your Figma Buzz designs into design mode. Everything that we've loved about Figma design mode, the good old Figma days, is here. You can change things around. You can use the different features that were available in Figma design mode and use them to create actual nice looking designs. If you are not sure what Figma design mode is, linked above in the cards and down in the description is the world's easiest Figma design mode crash course. So just go watch it if you're not aware of what Figma design mode is. It's the best thing ever. I can guarantee it, certainly. Alright, the last feature that I've been wanted to talk about for so long is masking. So this is something that you can do inside of Figma design mode. I'm going to make this shape bigger by pressing shift and scaling it up and down. The easiest way you can get started is to detach this instance, because currently this is a copy of the 21 blob 2, which was a component set which was giving us this advanced sort of shape feature, and I want to detach this instance so we can do whatever we want with these shapes. And now that we've detached that instance, it is no longer related to the group that we were previously having this be related to. Styling things now will be much easier. This is our group now. We can change this to a group, go inside, select the frame that we previously had, and click on this moon button, which is to use as mask. And now anything that is placed between the top of the group and inside of the frame which was used as mask is now sort of visible partially through the mask. This is the interesting feature with masks. You can change the appearance back to 100%, and select this image to sort of move it around to be able to identify where things would fit in perfectly. And look at that, you guys. This image works so well inside of this shape, works really well with this little logo hat. You can still experiment around with the drop shadows that you have just to see what works best for you. Look at this. This is so perfect in terms of being our very first banner. You could obviously add descriptions and links of social media if you wanted to, but this is the world's simplest social media post that we've built using Figma Buzz entirely. With that said, let's go over to the second part of this video where we create an entire design using a template, and I guarantee this is going to be much quicker because we're aware of the tools, and templates make our life as designers so much quicker and so much easier. So now that we have a frame with us, in the second frame we're going to go over to the templates section. I want to go over to exit the design mode, go back to Figma Buzz because it's just simpler to use, and we're going to go over and search for Instagram ads. When you start using it, you actually realize how easy it is to work with all of these elements. And two very interesting Instagram ads that I want to talk about are this one, which actually lets you change the images in the background, change these really cool looking Instagram posts, and this one, which lets you share all of your custom tweets as Instagram posts or threads as Instagram posts. And I'm using these a lot going on forward from today, and you'll see these all over my social media linked in the description. But as promised, we're going to go back and look at the template we want. Something really interesting is if you use a template and then you click on plus, you get an adjoining page which works really well with the theme of the last page. So that's also going to make your life much easier. But for now, for the template that we're using for this social media post, this is going to be the next one we add. Simplified banking for everyone is the template that I'm using. I'm going to get rid of these extra ones. You can press shift to select multiple frames at a time and delete them. This is the template that we've just now imported. For example, this is a brand for banking that just needs to put out a social media post advertising themselves. This is like the simplest way you can have a template, customize it, make your life easier when it comes to publishing an ad. Now, the cool thing that we're going to do today is we're going to go over back to our spa social media post, and we're going to change this banking template into an advertising post for these exact same Albertan Springs and Spa, and it's just going to blow your mind how easily you can just change these things and work with templates. So the goal is to change this banking template into a spa advertisement template, make it surprisingly good looking and fit our use case. The first thing that I want to talk about is the theme that we worked with was very yellow, orange and red. So the background has to be yellow, orange and red and not this weird green. So we're just going to go over, select this yellow, and then we're going to change this tagline. This tagline has to say Albertan Springs and Spa, and so we're just going to go over here, rewrite this to be advertising line for Ableton Springs and Spa, and just click on rewrite. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing I was reading it as Albertan, which was Ableton Springs and Spa, and that's quite embarrassing. Revitalize your, so the line that we've gotten from Figma AI is revitalize your senses at Ableton Springs and Spa, which honestly is quite good. So I'm just going to say thumbs up on this, and now I'm just going to change this logo. Let's say, even though it's not true, this was our logo, this cute little hat, you could just go over here and have that exact same hat in this exact same position. You can obviously go over to the top and upload your own hat image, because if it was your logo, you'd have it in your files. But even if you don't, let's just get rid of this, and in this exact position, we're going to go over to inserts and get the exact same hat that we've been using. Now, you could obviously change the colors of all of these, which we're going to do super duper quickly, exactly the way we did with our last one. So we're just going to go over here, change this to the red that we were using, change this to the orange that we were using, change both of these to the orange that we were using, and get rid of the green in the background. So I'm just going to go over here and select the bigger green that we had and delete it. Look at that, you guys. This is so simple, so easy. And we're going to change this image once again, and we're going to use the Figma AI features to make a new image for Ableton Springs and Spa. And your mind will blow away when this image gets generated, because this is by far the easiest way to create your own customized advertising template for this example springs and spa. While that happens, it is worth noticing that you can change the fonts. If, for example, one of the fonts that we were using was the title font, you can change it to be the font that you want. So let's just change it to Gilda Display. With this, you can personalize the ad according to the font that is the brand font for your brand, but I don't need that right now. This sans serif font that we were using was just good enough, but you can ultimately change the shadows, the blurriness, the visuals of your entire font families, colors, everything else. This is the first image that Figma has generated for us. Not really happy with the way it is. I do want to make a change. Someone in a spa. Let's just see where that goes. The only thing that's left for us to do practically now is to get another image. With that, while that's happening, you can add the custom illustrations that we were adding before, and this gives it a level of customizability that a normal template wouldn't have. So for example, right here, something that was common was this sunglass was available in both the places, and I feel like that's just happening really well now. You can select this image and crop it out, change the positioning if you want to. Check it out, this actually looks so nice, and you can just close this section out, go over here, position this to align by the center in the asset, and then use our arrow keys to get this down, align it perfectly in the center. Check it out, you guys. With that, we have successfully completed 2 different social media posts for the exact same springs and spa. One of those is made from scratch, the other one is made from templates, both using Figma Buzz. Both look incredible. Now if I want to share the both of these, I can just go over to the top and export them as PNG assets. You can select one or all of the assets. You can select a couple of assets if you want to. For now, we're just going to get all of them and export them using our file format, whatever it is that we want. You can use PNG, PDF or JPG. Size is going to stay 1x. Color profile is going to be sRGB because that's just the color palette we want for this. And now we're just going to export these assets, and now you can save these images wherever you want to save them and post them wherever you want to post them from inside your computer. You can also share this asset with someone in your team with using their email ID, or you can publish this as a template by moving it out of drafts. You can also embed it on your site using an embed code, which you can get from clicking over here, or you can just move this to a project to share this social media post with your entire team. So that has been the world's easiest Figma Buzz crash course. I hope you liked it. I hope you subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, and if you're still not sure what Figma is, linked up at the top is the world's easiest Figma crash course and also the world's easiest FigJam crash course. So that is it for me. I'll see you next time. Good luck and goodbye.